pretty thin. So in any event, we're happy with what we get here. But the one positive note that I will agree with is that at the last Lake Association Directors meeting, we pretty much agreed that we would like to contribute an amount of money, we don't know what that would be, but we'd like to contribute an amount of money to the fire department when they get ready to identify what they want. So, I know there's township money would be involved, but the Lake Association would like to be involved. Okay, that's it.
Got one question for you, Tim. Is there anything you guys think our phones ringing off the hook on that park? You know, is there anything Lake Association can do? I got people from Lansing calling me, they're getting tickets because the parking lot's full and they're down in the ditch, but they're still getting tickets.
Well, you know, interestingly, at the Lake Association meeting, at the very beginning, the deputy that is, so to speak, in charge of the marine module, he pretty much explained about their process. He didn't say where from above the call has been put out in order to enforce that, but all I can say is that apparently what he said is a violation of the law. We are enforcing it. We're enforcing it apparently for a couple of reasons. Number one is that it's not always fair when you have, I don't want to single any entity out, but if you have one boat coming in and using the launch, and there's nobody to even enforce whether or not they have a recreation event, and that person puts his boat in the water, parks his car and trailer in a spot, and he's got 8 more people that are coming on his boat, and they all park and they all take spots. That's not tenable. That happens, and that's one of their anchor reasons for not doing it. The other issues were during certain holidays, 4th of July being one, the lake gets very overcrowded. And this would be one other way to keep the lake from getting overwhelmed. There's only so many parking spaces. Now, the enforcement, I don't know how the relationship is between the sheriff's office that's enforcing it here and the DNA that does some part-time enforcement, or the DNR, part-time enforcement. But the DNR, according to the deputy at our meeting, the DNR hasn't really taken a position about it. They have issued some tickets, but it's the county sheriff that's doing it. And it's not the Lake Association that's been advocating.
I knew that, they know some of you guys could do that.
We are as influential as we are.
Thanks, Tim. Anybody else? Eric?
Yes, the old boat landing is a handicap fishing ramp, correct?
Right.
Most of the time there's a picnic table on the ramp. Anybody in a wheelchair could not get out there. Most of the time there's a picnic table.
Because we got 2 handicap, in our pavilion, but we got 2 handicap parking lots right out front.
Yeah, but if they're gonna,
Right,
they need a
yeah.
wheelchair to get out
Right.
there.
I get that, picnic table off. Okay, thanks, Karen.
I attended both the May special meeting and the June meeting, and I came away from that very confused. I've listened to the recordings a couple times to try and get something straight in my mind. It seemed to be different information about the same topic coming from different people. I don't understand why this loss of funds wasn't disclosed earlier, why it took 3 months to get that between the people. the recording said that, and indicated that, excuse me, it shouldn't be part of the officer's report. I'm not sure why that would be, because they report incidents all the time, like a stolen golf cart, and they're investigating. And then they were talking about the insurance. Nancy said, the insurance paper she read said, the insurance said no lockbox, no reimbursement. And then Kurt said in the June meeting, that wasn't the case. It didn't matter if we had a lockbox or not. And I was just curious if anybody read the insurance policy to see what's actually covered. You might be missing something and cause yourself to be not covered over a certain area if you're not doing, not following this rule. The sheriff said, or a person involved in that, said they had no leads and no audit, so they were gonna drop the case. Somebody said, Kurt said, no audit. However, the sheriff took it up again 4 months later without the audit being done, and, because you guys were still talking about it in June. So it's just not making sense in my mind how that transpired. I'm just wondering if maybe in the future, when you're having an issue such as this, that you might request permission from a person you're speaking with and actually record the conversation so that you can play it back once again and have all that information clear in your mind. I'm confused because even a garage sale has a lockbox or some kind of box when they're having a sale to keep your money in. And it just doesn't make any sense that even this occurred in February, you still don't have a lockbox, at least as of the June meeting, because you were still talking about it. And personally, in my opinion, is if I were on the board, I would have been out wanting to be able to say, we got a lockbox. Anyway, I just, it just really felt like that the meeting was just, for the most part, a lack of concern of handling township funds. It's just, here's what happened, we're not really gonna do anything about it, and there you go. And I'm not sure, in my opinion, if after all that transpired, that giving yourselves a raise was a good idea. Thank you.
Amen.
Anybody else? Roger?
Just wanna know on that missing money, on the tax roll, was that reimbursed? Do we know?
Part of our general fund, right?
Yep, came out of PTAP account.
PTAP account.
Does that have to be voted on,
That was
to move money from one line to another?
The check was approved at the meeting.
And that's what
As
happened.
all checks are approved at the meeting by the
And
board.
MTA told us how to do it there.
No, yeah, I guess I don't understand, I don't remember it being said what that check was for, or what the check was, or how it was moved, or just, I don't remember the vote on it. That's what I'm asking.
What meeting?
What meeting was that, do we know?
March, April. What meeting did you do that transfer date for, wasn't it? That was March or April.
Alright. March or April, the money was moved,
So nobody knows.
and wasn't mentioned until May.
I probably didn't know.
Alright,
John?
thank you.
Two things. I'm gonna piggyback on Sherry's for a second. We have our deputy here tonight. He was here in March, not this guy. We now have a new deputy. He didn't say anything about a police report being filed for this money being gone. So I'm asking, did someone ask the deputy not to bring it up in his report?
Usually when there's an investigation, you keep your mouth shut.
Okay. Next question is, in the summary from the board meeting last month, again, correspondence, A, B, and C, was on the agenda, and you said correspondence, blah, 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 correspondence, blah, 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 correspondence, blah, blah, blah. That was it. You didn't talk about anything, and now it's on here. So if there's correspondence that needs to be talked about, who's doing it? Yeah, I mean, y'all can't meet without violating the Open Meetings Act, so how can you talk about correspondence and do something about correspondence that makes an agenda and makes this? We don't, what's up?
Done?
No reply,
We ain't supposed to apply to them.
but you do on a regular.
Well,
I was one of the persons for the correspondence that didn't get brought up, and I brought my email so I can read it to everyone who's curious. I sent this on June 9th, and it was addressed to all board members. It says, I am writing to address a township board issue that involves breach of duty and the loyalty of duty in the noted occurrence below. A breach of fiduciary duties appears evident in that a board member that seconded this motion was a direct recipient of the benefit of received Township ARPA funds award. Please, and I gave a reference. The township board meetings were copied and pasted below. On December 14th, the American Rescue Plan, the motion was made by Johnson, seconded by Little, to approve the CMS ARPA request for $100,000, which is a great thing that the community received ARPA money for CMS to provide the broadband. However, this motion carried ayes for all. One of your board members was a direct recipient of this benefit and probably likely should have recused themselves, because in the November meeting, when it was discussed, I believe the treasurer said we need a more improved map to look at. So I believe everyone on the board would have looked at that map and the addresses below. You had a board member that received direct benefit from that. So that was a correspondence from last month.
anybody else? If not, we'll move on. Need a motion to approve the agenda, accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'd like to discuss, can we please add E under unfinished business, addressing the sewer rental issue?
We need to add, since we're doing it right now, we need to add F under unfinished business. We've had an offer for the fire truck that was for sale.
Okay, I don't know if this has to be anything more than, please know it's in your packet. There's a ribbon cutting on Monday for a couple recycling spots. Do you want me to discuss it, or just please notice this in your packet? It'd be helpful.
Why don't you discuss it under compactors?
Okay, you can do it, sounds good, thank you.
Okay, motion by Nancy, seconded by Patty to approve it with the changes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed, motion carried. Need to accept the consent agenda.
I'll motion to accept it.
Second.
Motion by Elise, seconded by Nancy, accept the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Come County Buzz, Chris?
Yeah, this month we approved a $1.4 million upgrade to the jail and court complex for security issues. It's all the cameras and recording equipment. Parking lots are gonna be included in that. And it's being funded through a lot of different places. Police millage is taking a small part in that, the court systems, the the county has some in it. And there's, the EMS has got some in it. It's being funded out of a whole bunch of different sources. But the equipment they have right now is all the old analog stuff, and they can't even get repair parts for it. The last parts they got were off eBay. They bought them from somebody. So the system is completely outdated, so that's all gonna be updated. The other thing, we approved a contract with a construction contractor to remodel the court building where we're gonna move the vital records office to. Can't remember the exact number of that. But then the other thing is, today we started our budget talks, we went over all of our department head requests and stuff. We were there for a couple hours going over that. We have another meeting next Wednesday at 1 o'clock to continue on and get our budget set for next year. Other than that, that's about it.
Chris, will the entire clerk's office at the county be moving out to the complex?
Yeah, but basically what's at that part is the vital records and that type of stuff. The actual court clerk stuff is already out there, so they're just gonna combine the two offices together. And by moving 3 or 4 more people out there and all the records, they gotta do a bunch of revamping of the
Oh,
building.
yeah,
and
sure.
It's gonna have a lot of stuff to move out there. And that should be completed by, she wants it done by September 1st. I made a motion, if we put a time frame on it, has to be done by, January, the first business day after the new year. But she wants to be out there by September so that it doesn't interfere with all the voting and stuff coming up in the fall.
Thanks, Chris. Fire report, Mike's not here. They had, 1 wildland structure fire, 1 mutual aid, traffic on a wildfire, 1 fatal accident, 2 power lines down, 1 COD investigation, 1 mutual aid to shared, 1 smoke investigation, 10 rounds, 63 total for the year, 1 business meeting, 1 training meeting. That's it. DPW, grass is starting to grow again, so the boys are getting pretty busy again.
Can we discuss that a little bit? What is going on with DPW? Is Mike coming back?
Well, no, next month. So I'm gonna make up his mind.
Okay.
Okay, Duck Lake improvement, Shirley.
We had our public hearing Monday, and, the board voted to increase the Duck Lake District assessment to $60,000 annually for the next 5 years.
Thank you. You made my phone ring off more yet?
How many more years, Shirley?
5. We'll get the formal paperwork to you, so no problem.
Is that all true?
Hey Kurt, can I add to that, all the people in Duck Lake that were here, I've never seen such an overwhelming response of wanting to increase taxes. It's just, I never saw that. I bet there was 45 people here, and I think 40 people raised their hand when they asked if they would support the 60,000.
Okay. Downtown Development Authority, Dave?
Yeah, just a couple items. One is, I wanna report out, we've completed 2 of the 3 facade grants. We've, written checks for 2 of those, we have 1 yet to go. So the Olivers and the Lake Street Station have both improved their landscaping and facade and lighting, I believe, was the primary aspect of it. Music in the park has gone well, extremely well. Might have to have umbrellas tomorrow night, I'm not sure. But that program has gone extremely well so far this year. And, the other thing is we're beginning talks about projects for the DDA as we look to restate the DDA's purpose and to restate the time period. We're trying to look at projects in the district that would, we'd be looking at over the next 20 years. So we'll be continuing that. We'll need to come back with that for Township. So we'll have to have a work session with the Township to look at those projects. And then what we do is have a hearing, restate the projects that are in the current plan, and reset the timeline. Typically, it's 25 years is what the timeline is, and that'll run out in 2027 for the current DDA timeline, for the TIF. We're working on that, and we'll be probably having a work session with the Township, I'd say in a couple months, to talk about projects.
Thanks, Dave. Puts us down in the Macomb County Police Report, Officer Dave.
Good evening, everybody. Following our hours and activities for the month of June. We totaled about 171 hours, 111 being traffic traffic patrol, 2.5 hours of traffic-related complaints, 27 hours of criminal complaints, and 34 for non-criminal complaints. 6 assists to police, fire, EMS, 3 domestic disturbances, 2 suspicious vehicles or persons, 1 suicidal or mental health, 3 traffic-related, 1 juvenile-related, 1 trespassing, 1 animal-related, 1 boating-related, and 1 breaking and entering, for a total of 20 investigations. Deputy was out of the township to assist other deputies for 55 minutes on an assault, 225 minutes on a felonious assault with firearm, 80 minutes on a stolen vehicle, 70 minutes on a domestic, and 25 for an alarm, 25 for a traffic crash. 12 traffic stops, 12 verbal warnings, 23 subjects investigated, 13 cars investigated, 1 car assisted, and 179 property inspections, totaling 1,823 miles of patrol. For notable events, on June 24th, a minor boating crash was reported near the North Shore boat launch. Boat was headed to the launch when the steering malfunctioned, boat couldn't be controlled, and struck a boat at a nearby dock. Damage was minor and no injuries were reported. On June 30th, a breaking and entering was reported at the 1,000 block of South Waldron. The home was under construction and several items were taken. No suspects at this time.
Anybody got any questions for the officer?
Do you know the number of tickets that have been wrote at the boat launch yet this year? Or?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. It sounds like we're doing at least over a dozen a day from one of our deputies.
They were 43 one weekend. I just wondered if that was.
Yeah, the one deputy that's writing the most, he's doing quite a bit a day.
I was just curious. I'm meeting with the sheriff next week, and I'm meeting with Trevor McGinn from the DNR also on it. So.
I'm not sure the total, but I know it's quite significant.
Okay, thank you. Trustees report?
Well, mostly I've been working on policies, but I did start keeping track of my hours, so for things that are major, I'm at about 63 hours a month. And had over 24 citizen contacts by phone or people just swinging in my driveway.
Okay. That puts us down to correspondence. The WM.
Did someone contact them, or do they just show up out of the blue?
They showed up.
Have they ever
I've
been before
never-
this board before?
No, I've met with Dave B. back in the day, originally when we started talking about the park project, but, yeah, no contact with them.
That's what that's all about. Okay, the next one is Eagle. That's just a seawall permit. Okay, unfinished business, American Rescue Plan.
Well, we still have some money left. A little over 134,000, so we come up with something, someone wants to make a motion on a project or whatever. We got the money there.
Moves us down to the community center.
So I've been working on numbers to have this part of the community center demolished. We got all of them in except for building up the wall, which we got the okay to do, to get the blueprint, get that started. I also went and I talked to a local contractor, and I want to know all the information. So we're at 120,000, about 100,000 right now, with the wall probably 20,000. So I'm gonna say about 120,000 to tear down this building right there. So, as I stated, I talked to a local contractor, and I'm gonna pass these down if you guys would take one. I did meet with a local contractor, to possibly build a new building. The proposed site that I was looking at is over by the fire station. There's a cement pad out there, just right on the left side of it. So I want us to think about this before we really decide what we wanna do. For a 40 by 80 pole barn style construction, I will have pictures, drawings, he just didn't get back to me with them in time. It will have 3 offices in it, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen area, so if we do decide we wanna rent it out, there would be a place for a rental, and then a storage shed. And the price on a brand new building is about $304,000. So I just want you guys to also take that into consideration when we talk about the community center. Now, what can we do with the community center if the township does decide to move out of it? I noted the DDA had some really good ideas for this building. We might consider letting the DDA take over the building. Okay, but there would be some, I wanna say some exceptions, because I know we have the 8 cap here. Education is really important to me, so I would say if we do anything, I wanna make sure 8 cap is there as long as they want to be there. So if they wanna renew the lease year after year, we're gonna go ahead and let them. It might, that's just my request. So,
What about all the gym rentals we have, what do you think about that?
well, that's what I wanted to talk about, because, that's another thing. We would have a different building we could rent, but we would still have that.
Gym. The gym is the main attraction as
That's
far as
right.
for athletic.
So we would have to figure, stuff like that out. This is just, let's talk about something else, let's talk about something else.
I like having the numbers, but I think we really need to do a community survey, cause this is the people's money and the people need to have a say on what's going on.
And that's why I brought it up tonight, because this would give us a little time to get people's opinion, because that's what I want. I think we should get everybody's opinion.
Got a question?
And I just want, because I know at the last month, I was asked how much do we rent the gym and community room. So I went over the last year, and it looks like we averaged 3 to 4 times a month for the gym. Once a month average for this room. We've had 3 funerals for the gym over the last year, which we don't charge for. And then I counted 7 times, I'm gonna call free, for like the DDA uses it for the Winter Fest, they use it for Run the Lake, they use it for the trick or treat thing. So
I thought karate was here twice a week.
I didn't include the long term. These were just the weekend. Or,
So you're just looking at, so that's really not the entire rental.
No,
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, but that was, I was looking more, because it has, karate's been here, I'm gonna say at least a year, Monday, Wednesday, and they have, and they've run it a few times on weekends for big events, but typically,
Okay.
that's something.
But there are community groups that definitely use it and community members who definitely utilize it.
Okay.
And that's why I said we would put like a kitchen area, no stove, or I don't think we put that in there. I think it was just a refrigerator and a sink, maybe a microwave. I'll have to look at the quote and see, I'm not sure if that was in there. But that's why we did that, so we could also rent that out.
Right. You might wanna buy those appliances ourselves rather than paying a
Contractor. So that's just another idea of something we can think about.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
That moves us down to CDs.
Okay, you all have a piece of paper, and the rates for Citibank, that's 6 months. Huntington is 9 months, it has dollar below and under amounts for the percentages, Michigan One Credit Union as well. Now, we're earning 3% interest right now on Oliver Huntington at the general account, which is, we're getting a lot of money. Per month, which is great, but I want to remind everybody, we have over $1 million in that, and we're insured for $250,000. So that would be a reason to do so. I don't think Huntington's gonna close. This is just something to look at.
So Michigan One, the threshold is 50,000, and at Huntington it's 250,000.
This is below 250, above 250, below 50,
Right.
above 50, yes. Now, Amber didn't give me anything at Citibank other than these are our rates for 6 months. So, I don't think she has a minimum, she would have given me that if she did.
How much are you looking to invest in?
That's a board decision, it's not a me decision.
But you You got a recommendation, I'm assuming?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
The whole board has to agree on this and whatever amount. How much could we put aside for 6 to 9 months, depending on where we went? And I guess, Pat, you know, we all need to look at the bills every month, which we are, to see what we are always setting out every month. Yeah, but we're also getting money in monthly too, so.
Michigan one being paid the most.
Yes, for about $50,000, they would, that is correct. They have to go about 50,000 percent. True.
What's the penalty at the other banks if we have to turn it in, per se?
Didn't ask that.
Just,
Banker,
Just
don't you
curious.
know what a penalty normally is? Question for you.
I do, well, I
At your
can
bank.
tell you, at the bank that I work at,
Mhm.
if you get a CD and you withdraw from it early, you're gonna lose all your interest,
Correct, that's
plus some of your
mandatory.
principal,
Right,
so,
it's a percentage on the principal. I know you'd lose your interest.
no.
You know,
we
that's
don't,
why I was
because
looking at 6 months, quite
It
frankly.
determines how much longer you got on the CD when you withdraw it early,
Right.
so
Okay.
months, days, you know,
Exactly.
that's what the penalty is based on,
Right.
so.
Makes sense.
I would recommend doing a CD, especially if we know that we don't need to utilize, say, 250,000 or 200,000 right away. Interest right now is good
It
for
is.
CDs.
It is good.
Yeah, especially if we can hit the 4.95.
Right.
And so I'm
Yeah.
not putting a dollar amount on it, but if we could get over 50, so we're getting the most
Right.
return back on what we think we can deal with for the next number of months.
I mean, that 495, that's a good rate.
All right. Pat, what big bills do we have coming up? I know our next biggest payroll, I know, is December.
Right.
What else we got coming up? Because we are in July.
See, we shouldn't, I'm thinking the audit, but that's not huge.
Right.
That, I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, I can't think of anything huge.
Park's about the only thing we're gonna have a huge,
And when's the payment on that?
and we haven't got started yet.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, we gotta.
are we expecting it in the next 6 to 9 months?
I don't know, we're still waiting for Ego to okay it, I think.
Yeah, the bids, we can even put out the bid. But even
And
at 250, we would have enough there, but I would.
How much do we have in marijuana funds? Money, how much do we have there? I know it's on this list.
We got 113 this year, right?
Right, I thought we
And
had
52 or 4 last year.
something like that, yeah.
Where's that?
I'd make a motion, we put 250,000 in Michigan one.
I'll second it.
Motion by me, second by Nancy, put 250,000 in at 4.95% interest, or is that 9 months? Six
No, that
months.
was 6 months.
months.
Let's stay with the 6 months.
6 months. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Is that something we'll be doing this week, Nancy? That was the only discussion. Next week,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
As soon as that can be available, sorry.
No, that's okay, I was just asking.
I don't, yeah, I've got too much to do tomorrow.
And you
but I've got a
probably
commitment.
need the draft minutes to open
Yes,
account.
we would. So, yeah, so there's steps to it. You're right, Pam, we do. Yeah, because we do not have an account there right now, so it's more than just, hey, here's a
Yeah.
check. So we'll do it next week. Does that sound good, Pam?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that puts us down to D, compactors.
Okay, we need to pick a site. Taylor at the county is ready to sign a contract, and I can't even give her a location of where it's gonna be located. So, it can be out there near where the dumpsters are now, facing north and south. The concrete pad's gonna have to be a little bigger than we planned, because there's the overhead line right there. other option is to, put it where the handicap and the other parking areas are right there. Not saying that's where it should go.
Facing this way?
They would be facing this way, yeah, no, this way. They would be facing east and west.
And we met with the director of operations and what is HA from Republic? They're the guys who are going to service the units, pick them up, drop them off, make sure the trucks don't hit stuff.
Representative from Republic, yeah. So we just, and you look at the condition of those dumpsters, put them today. Anybody that was here, did you look at our dumpsters?
I don't know who posted pictures on Facebook, but oh my God, when I seen that, I was like, oh, we really, yeah, I'm with you, we really need to get
So the
something done.
hope is that this would stop that because, well, and people need to go to these open houses.
Where did you recommend?
Pardon me?
Where did I recommend to do it?
Those two options that she just said, either right here by the building or over where it is.
They thought it was fine over there, just that we'd have a bigger concrete pad where the existing ones are now.
Yeah, I don't know if we should tear up our handicap.
Yeah, I agree, I don't think we should tear up our handicap. I think up there.
And the kids walk down the sidewalk to the plate.
Well, it wouldn't come all the
I
way to
know,
the
but-
building, but yeah, so no, it would be more that way, but I think that, where the existing are now would be a good spot.
I agree.
I'll make that motion
And
that
I'm gonna
we place the compactors where our recycle is currently. We split the line, we have 6 feet extra in the middle.
I agree.
And
I
one
second
thing,
that. Sorry.
putting the ones we have now while this is going on, okay, perhaps on the opposite side from where they are right now. Of that area, because they will have to go someplace in the interim.
We would still need to.
How big, much more big of an area is it gonna be?
It is going to end up there 40 by 36. So we're gonna add 6 in the middle. Times 2?
No, not times two, that 40 by 36 is gonna hold two.
Oh, both of them, okay.
Correct. Yeah, 60 by
So yeah, it'll be
40 by
48 times,
46.
40.
Motion by Sarah to put it out here where they're at now, second by Leash. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that puts us down to E. Reno.
Okay, so I went to trusty old MTA and they have nice links to, Michigan compiled laws. Public servant soliciting, negotiating, renegotiating, approving, or representing party with a public entity is prohibited. This is Contracts of Public Servants with Public Entities, Act 317 of 1968. Except as provided in sections 3 and 3A, a public servant shall not be a party directly or indirectly to any contract between himself or herself and the public entity of which he or she is an officer or employee. Except as provided in section 3, public servant shall not directly or indirectly solicit any contract between the public entity of which he or she is an officer or an employee and any of the following: him or herself, any firm, any private corporation, any trust. And then further down, it does not apply if you are a public servant who is paid for working an average of 25 hours a week or less for a public entity, or a public servant who is an employee of a public or community college, unless the public servant promptly discloses any pecuniary interest in the contract to the official body that has power to approve the contract. The public servant promptly discloses in writing to the presiding officer, if the presiding officer is the public servant who is a party, to the clerk. The disclosure shall be made public in the same manner as a public meeting notice. If the amount of direct benefit to the public servant is more than $5,000, disclosure must be made as provided under this subparagraph. And there are a number of things that need to be met. So I think we need to take a look at that in regards to our contracts with kind of everybody.
Public acquisition, number
It is Contracts of Public Servants with Public Entities, Act 3/17 of 1968. And I just want that in the record as this exists, this is law. And laws can be interpreted in different ways. So we need to make sure we're on the right side of it.
On your investigations there, did you go out and talk to Kevin?
No, that is not my job.
You
I
don't want-
I look up stuff, okay, we'll bring it this way. As a trustee, our two statutory duties are to know about issues facing the township and to vote on them. Our third, that we all have, is to be a fiduciary of the people's money. I take that very seriously, and I am my own individual person, so I see it differently than other people do. But then I go back to what is existent, what is objective, and what the law says. I'm not going around talking to who said, she said, who said, what said, because getting a straight answer in this township is the hardest thing I have done.
Kevin has a contract though, doesn't he?
Would have been handy to have it here since we talked about it the last meeting.
Could've went up and got it, that's what we're saying.
Okay, you done, Sarah? That moves us to F. Jason Fitzpatrick, the truck that we didn't get no bids on, he's offered us $1,500 for it. Was that an 88?
I think so.
88.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the fire truck.
I'm gonna second that.
Motion by Nancy, seconded by Leash, to accept the $1,500 bid from Jason Fitzpatrick. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Board members, Monday, July 17th, 10 a.m., Village of Lakeview is going to have a metal recycling site grand opening. It's in your packet.
Yeah.
And then followed by 11 o'clock, the Village of Edmore's compactor recycling site will have a grand opening, we'll even feed you lunch. That way you can see how these work, see what they look like, if you can go.
I personally would love to go, unfortunately, we have someone on vacation, so I know I can't get the
But
time
just
off.
let people
But I
know
would
because
love to go.
I won't be here for it.
I thought about
I
it.
have done all the other openings, but I'd like to see that metal recycling site.
I never do now since it's in a meeting, you know?
So just so you know, there's, flyers are in your
Yeah.
package. You're welcome.
Puts us down to new business. Treasurer's office. She needs an air conditioner. And talked to Nancy earlier, and we thought about putting a camera in that room, like we got that watches the voting. And we got a price on one, installed and everything, for $1,348.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
What's the price of that?
What?
I mean, what are you talking about, the price?
Camera,
I can't.
that'll watch the room.
For what?
Well, what we had happen.
Oh, but, do they have a lockbox yet?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we've been looking for.
I'd rather spend that money on a lockbox than a safe.
Public comment,
Yeah, no public comment, sorry.
I'd say that's more needed than.
Okay.
One thing I'm gonna say is MTA had something today about if we're gonna have a camera, we have to have policies, and David, can you help me out with this, when you had one in that room?
Yep, we have one there.
And you had to have, video under surveillance?
You can, as far as I know, in the state of Michigan, you can video as long as one party is aware of the video. Doesn't require both parties.
Okay, just want, 'cause I don't know the
Well,
law.
yeah.
And I don't know the law.
I can double check that.
Okay, thank you, David. So,
So I guess we'll act on one by, you got a air conditioner for $348. $50,
I used to have an air conditioner there,
$329.
$329,
but it was, over 25 years old and it died. I had brought it from home. So it's up to you guys. It does have a server, 2 laptops and a printer. I can tolerate it if I have to. I'm not sure if our equipment.
$329 at Sam's, we can get 12,000 BTU.
I make a motion to approve the air conditioner for the treasurer's office.
I'm gonna second it.
Motion by Patty, second by Elise. To spend $329 for an air conditioner for the treasure room. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. On the camera. Use our ARPA money for it, or are you in favor of it, or what?
I don't know, do we need to see what, I think the policies that was in the MTA, Community Digest today was who can look at it, who can't, did anybody else read that?
Yes, I read it also, and we do need to have policies before we introduce another piece of equipment. I think it is needed, and I've got 3 new policies to go with the 3 last policies, and that whole thing next.
Do you wanna hang up on, or hang on?
Yeah, we'll hold off on that. Okay, that puts us down to policies.
So everybody got a whole lot of reading to do.
Yeah, we do.
Well, some of it was from last month, so
Right.
did we read those? What changes do we wanna make to the cash handling and receiving, board member code of conduct, and ethics policies?
The only thing I would suggest when we're talking about cash handling, if money is transferred between 2 parties, I think it should be counted by both parties in front of each other. That's just common practice. That way you know what you're getting and I know what I'm receiving. And if you have it done with both parties, you're on the same page.
We do that now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean between a taxpayer coming in?
No, I'm talking, like, say, even if you change it, I don't know how you guys would say, here's Nancy, we got this money in, I need to give
She's
it to you.
saying like if you was gonna have John take it to the bank,
Right.
you both count
You
it
both
before
count
he
it.
takes off with
Yes.
it.
Or if Patty's got rental or cemetery money and she's giving it
There's
to you.
usually a receipt there, but yeah,
Yep.
makes
So,
sense to me. Okay.
Receiver counts, signs,
Oh, people don't
and-
like things here.
and the giver counts and signs.
I agree,
Okay, let's make that number 5.
okay?
What are they
Before you-
signing? What are they signing?
You can just keep a log.
Yeah.
Before you go too far, what are you gonna do if they don't do it?
Policies and procedures are voluntary. There is no punishment for not doing it, but you can refer back to it. So things like with the grant, and they're like, okay, well, how are you gonna take care of this? Well, we have a park maintenance policy. If we're going to be, doing something extra and above, like we're talking about DDA and their projects. To do all these extra things, the foundation has to be correct. Policies and procedures are what that is. Who is responsible for making policies? The elected board is responsible for implementing framework of the ethics and the policies. The chief executive financial officers most often create the policies. Department heads and managers further detail internal controls. Everybody's on the same team to keep the people's money safe.
So, I guess, basically in a nutshell is, if you don't know the policy and I do, how do you know if I'm doing it wrong or not? Because we don't have any.
Because we need to share information and say, hey, we have a policy on that, and then
Accountability.
boom, anybody knows what they're supposed to do.
And there's accountability.
And there is transferability when the officers are out and someone else is sitting in that seat. So that goes to the larger thought process of, I can patchwork this with what I think we need to do, but in my opinion, when I feel like I don't know what is totally going on, I go to a professional. When we bought a business that we thought functioned and we got into and it didn't function, the first 2 hires we made were an attorney and an accountant. And they got us on the right path. And since these policies all need to go to the attorney for review anyway, it might financially benefit us to ask Bloom Sluggett or Cliff or Dave if they have an off-the-shelf policy starter pack.
No, I agree with you, sir.
So with Alicia's addition, let's continue moving along.
Wait a minute, what was your addition?
But I think,
Because I've got a few things to add here.
yeah, because this doesn't match with
What we do.
what we do. It doesn't match with the accounting procedures handbook.
And that is why I put that out as a draft last month, so we could all discuss and make our changes and then send it to the attorneys, so we're not doing this forever.
But then you just said to call Cliff and see if he's got a starter package.
Exactly, but we can start and get this
Well-
legwork done.
A lot of these things come from MTA who have been dealing with this for a long time.
And other townships. I
Correct.
have done hours of
Yeah,
research.
and who hopefully are members of MTA. And I will say that, you're gonna get township to township, things done a little bit differently.
If we're down for creating them, we don't need a starter pack, but we need to actually read them, think about them, and create them, and have everyone's input, is what I said at the last meeting.
You did, okay, so there's no change store, there's no petty cash. They gotta come.
Might there be in the future, though?
No, well, I'm here, but they could change that, that's what you're taking out, but, or
We don't
add
have a
it in,
change
but right
store,
now,
right?
no.
We don't have change store because they are required, I think, to pay
Tax will
exact,
say, exact amount.
exact amount.
And, the treasurer does not electronically receive the cash, I do number 2, and then Pat receives it, and again, MTA says that can be done either way, that's
But it
fine.
shouldn't be a 2-part receipt, it doesn't have to be a 3-part receipt.
Well, mine is, I keep the third one, so
Right,
it is a
but-
third part, yeah, we use
And I think,
3-part.
I think the accounting policy indicates it has to be a 3-part
Yeah.
receipt.
Yep, it's 3 parts.
And I don't understand when it says 1 receipt for the payee and 1 copy for the receiving department, I don't know what.
You know, this is more like, what it used to be at the county, where all the departments, or maybe they still do, take in money every day and then they have to be turned over. All those different departments, that's not the way here, it's between Pat and I. You know, other than when the fire department gets a big donation, which they have in the past. That's the only time any other department gives any money.
Would we like to come back next month after all of us make our additions where this doesn't work in real life? And then we get together and do this?
Make sure it's back on the agenda.
Yes, but I do want to point everybody to the capital improvements plan guide. This is new.
Okay.
We need to read this by the next meeting. We need to seriously consider having a planning commission and having a good capital improvements plan, because to me, that is part of being financially responsible.
Okay. We'll move that to next month. Forensic audit, everybody's blowing up about. Talked to the sheriff. He gave me one from Kent County that just did an audit for the Montgomery County that was like 40,000 short. And he goes, "What's your problem?" I told him we came up missing $1,000 cash. He says, "So you wanna spend $7,000, $8,000 on an audit to cover $1,000? I said, "Well, that's what they're telling me." He says, number 2, he says, "I'll never find that $1,000 cash. It ain't like finding a check like the county found the 40,000 was, clerk of the treasurer was making her check out bigger than they were supposed to be, and so he could find that stuff." And after the third one, after he said that, and he talked a little bit, he denied me.
Who'd you talk to?
I got it at home, I don't know, he was from King County. The sheriff that's doing the investigation, the one that gave me his name and number.
Detective Snyder told me we should have an audit.
Well, that's what he told me too. That's why I called. I said, you got anybody you recommend? And he said, well, this just did a big job here in Montgomery County, so I called that guy, but he denied us. He said, I ain't gonna take your money. And, so we got a call in with our regular auditor that works with a firm. But that lady was on vacation last week. She was supposed to be back this week, and she's still ain't back to work, so I guess, we ain't gotta call you to see what she says. So I guess we might as well postpone that to next one.
I guess, we haven't got anything back.
No,
Have they completed the investigation?
no,
Okay, so it's still an ongoing investigation?
still ongoing.
Okay.
Okay, that moves us down to public comment. Sharon?
You have, ARPA money left, $134,000?
Yes, Karen.
I think I suggested this before, and it would cost $120,000 to tear that down. It seems to me like that could be used for that. Done.
Thanks, Karen. Anybody else? Sharon?
I would ask that when the policies are done, that you post them on the website for all to see.
Chris?
Yeah, I was just looking at the cash part development on the budget thing. The county gave 50,000, you received that?
Oh, yes, we have all that.
So, that's not in the cash,
It
for
is
the
in
park development fund.
No, it has not been moved into that fund, it is in your general account. Okay. It's in the 101, not in the
Well, I just-
17. I know, it looks deceiving, it's not deceiving, it's just steps haven't been made to move it. I don't know what it takes to move it, when we should. Do we need to bring that up, Pat? To put it actually in that
I don't
fund?
think we would need a motion, 'cause it's just moving it from one line to the other.
Okay, yeah, they think we don't have it when we do, So,
So that's
Mike?
50,000. Sorry.
Should just 50 be moved, or should 100?
I think anything that is for that should be moved into that account. The exact amount.
I mean, what is your, the total general fund budget this year? You have any idea what
We
the?
don't get to bring our laptops in here.
What's that?
We don't get to bring our laptops in here to the button, pull that up.
I'll check that later. I'm just thinking that the general fund balance was getting pretty high, and I didn't know what the actual budget was.
John?
We try not to spend all of it.
Well, at the end of June, the last part of June, I submitted 30 questions to our clerk and our supervisor, 25 of which had to do with the park project, accounting for the park project, and questions in general of the park project. The other 5 are unrelated to that, and it was treated as a FOIA request, so there's been an extension on it. But part of my concern is exactly what you're talking about. My reading of your budget showed a surplus of about $30,000. But what you just asked was one of my specific questions, and that's money sitting in the general fund, not budgeted where it is. My big concern is you have a bunch of money in your general fund with a $30,000 surplus and a park project that's going to be very large, and some of that money is already earmarked in the general fund and it's not earmarked for the project. So I'm afraid you're going to have a shortfall. So I'm anxiously awaiting answers to my 30 questions.
Yeah, just as a general comment, I have to say how amused I was that your trustees' point about contracts with people who are on the board was treated like a public comment. She made her comment and that's fine, that was the end of it. There was no discussion among the board members. I guess maybe the problem was that a motion wasn't made or something from that point on. So just a statement of amusement.
Roger?
Did they ever install that internet service on the north end that everybody's bitching about? What Little was supposedly gonna get?
Yeah,
It is working?
that's a done deal.
and why are we installing a new building out to the fire hall for 300 some thousand when we're still sitting on this dead horse? And we're gonna pay for utilities and everything out there, plus utilities and everything here, and we're still not making a dime. We're just putting money out.
Done?
Yeah,
Tim?
I was under 3 minutes.
Just a comment is, as John Q says, is that the group sites that cover Crystal on Facebook talked about what people described as horrific conditions with respect to the toilets during the July 4th holiday. And all I ask is that I hope that the next time it comes up for contract to supply the porta potties, that you consider what people have said. I hate to think that a lot of those people had to wade in to the water at the beach in order to take care of their business.
Well, on the bathroom issue, why can't they just put a regular bathroom in the park? Get rid of those porta potties and actually install a bathroom.
That is in plan phase 2 or something.
So when is the park thing gonna get going and start working on it?
We're still waiting for the okay.
From who? Who do you need the okay from?
Eagle.
Now, I also heard that the plans are outdated and they need to be updated on it.
No. Yeah, we had to do some changes. Yep.
Just to let you know, at our last board meeting, after the membership meeting, the board members brought up about all the porta johns that were in such bad disrepair, and not cleaned. So somebody's gonna come to you from the CLA and talk to you about possibly the CLA paying for certain porta johns to come in around the lake. So just a heads up, that's what, we had thought at our board meeting afterwards, so.
Dave?
I'd like to compliment the DDA also had a similar discussion. And we looked into the larger ones that are on trailers and the much larger ones. So I think DDA would contribute also. I think we support different methods.
Anybody else?
I forgot one real quick. What all have we done for the treasurer's office? I heard a lockbox. Do we have a safe? Where are we at? And so what do we do with overnight money?
Lock it in.
In a lockbox that's not locked down?
It's a lock, the box locks.
Right.
But it's not locked down.
It's not locked
so
down.
somebody
It's
can
not a
still come in and
safe.
get it and take it.
So we're at 5 months and we haven't,
She's got a filing cabinet locked, a closet locked,
and that's where the money went missing, is my understanding last time, a locked file cabinet. I'm the deputy. I'm not really comfortable even going to work right now. You guys, 5 months. 5. You hear that? Do you hear that?
John, it didn't come up missing overnight, you know that.
Well, I was.
Wait a minute. That's exactly what my understanding is.
I'd be very embarrassed.
That is not correct what you just said, Kurt, at all.
You're here to argue, you can come in and argue.
Yeah, but you're not saying the truth.
Yeah, I am.
I have a comment. I represent this community and I have a lot of people, constituents asking me about the money, very concerned, afraid to say anything. And, there's questions like, has the insurance form been filled out? There's been FOIAs requesting that form. And why the form's not filled out, so we can get our money back. As a board, you have a fiduciary duty to the members of this community to secure those funds, so that everybody understands that they're secure. And then also, the other part of that fiduciary duty is getting those funds back. The people from the community shouldn't have to pay that if it comes out of the general fund. It should be, if you can get it by filling out an insurance form, why isn't the form filled out?
Waiting for the audit to be done.
Why do you have to wait for an audit to fill out a form?
That's part of the deal though,
What's the deal?
For-
What's part of the deal?
that the audit's done, and then you send them a copy of the audit.
And then you fill out, the form has something to do
Police
with it.
investigation, not the audit, excuse me, it's police investigation.
So the police investigation has to be done prior to the paperwork. What kind of form is it that we're talking about here?
An insurance form.
What type of form? Is it an affidavit? Is it a
Claim form. there.
claim form? Okay. Who said the form that the investigation had to be done?
What's the name of the person that you spoke
The
to?
insurance company says that.
Because we tried to FOIA that information too, and that FOIA was denied also.
Which one was it?
The FOIA asking for the form or the policy that says,
Because our lawyer, I should be answering, our lawyer says, don't hand nothing out till the investigation's done.
don't hand nothing, oh, you mean for FOIA
Yeah,
purposes. So once the investigation is done, we can fill out the form, get the money back, and, or answer the FOIAs? Will they be
Yeah.
answered then? Because this gentleman said he had like 25 FOIAs.
I had 30 questions. It was treated as a FOIA. They were just questions given to the supervisor and the clerk. I did not put FOIA on it.
Okay, okay. I've just had a lot of people very concerned about it and asking, you know,
And I want the name of the individual that stated that the investigation had to be complete before the insurance claim could be made.
yeah.
Who's the name of the person?
That's our insurance agent.
Yeah?
the insurance
So we
agent?
can't know who our insurance person
Call.
is that represents our.
Call next Monday or Tuesday and we'll give it to you.
Oh.
The office here.
Okay. To find out who the insurance agent is.
I think that should
But it's a matter of public
be known to the
record, who
community.
represents our community for our insurance.
Roger?
Changing gears, back to the building. Sarah, get with Shirley and Dave. There's been a survey done.
I know, I've seen that survey, you can find it online if you go troll.
Yeah, you know, the survey was done. We had King Scott here, Alicia.
I've seen it.
you
I've seen the survey.
I'm not talking about the survey, no. There has been multiple studies done on this building. All you have to do is ask people. They could probably help you out before you even, you know, go out and start beating your head against the wall. I'm just trying to help you.
Thank you.
There's been a real estate broker here.
Yep.
That gave ideas. There's been commercial contractors here. There's been building department here. Consumers did an evaluation here. Do you know what the annual utility bill is for this building? I'll tell you, it's $20,000. The contractors, consumers, the building department said, all you need to do is put a peak roof on here, insulate it, change the HVAC system, it'll cut your utility bills more than half. And each of these buildings have great bones. They all said it, the building department even flew over with a drone and everything. So, I guess you can go with what you want, but, and then Garrett Bacher had a great idea at one time, so as I thought, instead of building out there, go up here on the south end of the park where the siren is, put a building there overlooking Crystal Lake. That way we'd have a staple for this community other than a pole barn and saying, hey, look what we got. We have a township hall overlooking our lake.
Sorry, Roger, I shut you down.
What happened to all the surveys that the community filled out regarding what people wanted to happen to this building? 2 years ago, perhaps?
2018.
It's been more than that, 4 or 5 years ago.
2018.
There you go.
5 years.
What happened to all those surveys?
They're in a file someplace.
Did anybody compile the information?
Yeah, King Scott did. Anybody else?
Anybody wants a copy of that survey, I have it on my phone, and I'll be glad to email it to anybody who wants one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Let's go out in the rain.
Boring.
Come
say something.